Hello, computer.
This is Hello Computer, a series of interviews carried out in 2023, at a time when artificial intelligence appears to be going everywhere all at once. Our next interview is with physicist and science communicator Sabine Hossenfelder, author of the books Lost in Math, How Beauty Leads Physics Astray, and Existential Physics, a scientist's guide to life's biggest questions.
I'm Sabine Hossenfelder. I'm a physicist and a researcher at the Munich Center for Mathematical Philosophy. And my role in AI is an interested observer.
But you are the creative force behind the hit YouTube channel Science Without the Gobbledygook as well, so you're the perfect person to help us understand. Let's quickly recap. So at the start of February, OpenAI releases a $20 AI as a service, and that was just weeks after it launched it as a free service. OpenAI releases GPT-4. Bard launches not much later than that. 2 days later than that, Bill Gates says this is the biggest thing for decades. The fake Trump photographs go viral. That was a stunning example of disinformation. Musk and Woz and others called for it to be halted. All of that happened in 2 months. What just happened to the world?
I think what you often see with technological developments in general is that there is a certain threshold when they go really mainstream. I think for the people who've been working in this for a long time, they've kind of seen it coming. It's been a gradual thing. We've seen this for a long time in image generation, like they've been getting better and better, deep fakes, like videos, face swap, all that kind of thing. It's been like slowly getting to the point where you can't tell the difference unless you do your own software analysis. And so with language models, I think the people who've been into it, they could kind of seen it coming, but with this software becoming openly available, everyone could now suddenly see what it's really doing. And this attracted a lot of attention. And now there are more people talking about it and more people are worried about it. People are worried about their jobs. It's raising to, public awareness, basically. And this is what gives it this sudden appearance. But I think from what the technological development is, it hasn't actually been that sudden.
Okay. So tell us that in real terms then, how will this change our relationship with technology? Are we going to see more gobbledygook or less gobbledygook?
So obviously I don't know, but today is the day where I'm optimistic. So I think that it has a chance to bring down the amount of gobbledygook for the following reason. I think that people just know this now, that you can have these artificially intelligent software things that create stuff that you can't easily tell real from fake. So it'll become much more important to look at the source, like who's put it out? Is it someone who I can trust? And I think that this will generally be a good thing. Of course, like there's the question, how do you know whom to trust, right? So it goes on this meta level. But I think that it'll become pretty much futile, to put out this quick fake scam stuff because people have been warned, basically, but because it's become so easy to do.
Sabine, how do we know who to trust?
Yeah, that's a very philosophical question. I've actually been thinking about this way too much. It comes down to this question, like, how do we even reconstruct reality? I've been thinking about this because you've seen in the US, I think there's people, who believe that the earth is flat, that kind of stuff. They have a problem with reconstructing reality from the data that they have. And so I think partly it comes down to how much do we know about other people. And so, I always think about everything pretty much from this educational perspective. I think there is a lack of knowledge about psychology, really, and sociology, which is really important to reconstruct the world around us, because most of the information that we get, really, it's not first-hand evidence. Like, we don't measure things, right? But, I have a reasonable expectation that you're probably real. It seems plausible to me, but how would I know, right? It's not. I can't actually measure you. So I'm just thinking, probably it seems unlikely you'd go to that amount of effort to produce an artificial intelligence just to talk to me. That doesn't make any sense. So it goes down to this like psychological level. You know what I mean?
Is anybody checking on the electricity bill for all of this? Because it's not electricity, but what we're talking about is a tsunami of APIs. So is anybody thinking about the electricity that this is going to require and how it's going to bake the planet?
Well, you're thinking about it, so the answer is yes.
Okay.
But it's come up repeatedly, right? I mean, it takes a lot of energy to train those big models, and it's only going to become larger. And there'll be a lot of talk about it. Looking at how humans behave, I think it's not going to make a big difference. People will talk about it, but it'll continue anyway. And of course, I mean, the big companies, they care about their reputation. So they'll make an effort to say, okay, but it's all green energy or whatever. Or they put it, a lot of companies like to put their servers on Iceland because it's all geothermal, whatever. Which makes sense. So basically, I'm a little fatalistic about it. I'm like, it's going to happen anyway. And there's also the argument, like, I mean, you don't need this huge amount of energy consumption all the time. You need it for the training, and then it becomes kind of a normal thing where you put in requests and it spits out an answer.
We talked about society and psychology, and what happens when humans start to fall in love with the AI at scale. We know about movies, we know about individuals, but are we going to see human love projected onto AI at scale? And what's that going to do to society, do we think?
You're asking me a lot of questions that really I'm totally incompetent for. But, if you want me to speculate, I think it's definitely going to happen. Just because on the average, since so many people are not particularly happy in the relationship that they have. And so we're going to have all those personalized AIs whose only task it is to be attentive to us and to be helpful, like 24/7 all the time. And for some people, that's going to be really, really appealing. And they find something which they don't have in their relationship. So I think it's going to happen. But I also think that it'll be a temporary thing, that people will come to realize it's an additional thing. Like, this is not a human, but it can complete some parts of my life in some way. But in the end, it's just a machine. It's not, it doesn't have its own life. So it's not particularly interesting on some level. So I think that it'll be a phase that we'll have to go through. And some people might need psychotherapy or something of that sort.
What's happened to the Turing test? Was it not suitable for this job? Do we need a new Turing test? Where does this leave the Turing test?
Well, I think it's been kind of a little bit sidestepped, like with those AIs, like the language models that are now available. They don't even try to pass the Turing test. Like, if you ask them, are you an AI? They'll just say, yes, I'm an AI. Just so you could say, well, it failed the test, right? Because it didn't convince me that it's human. But of course, this doesn't really make any sense. So I'm pretty confident that if you would try to do it now, they would probably pass the test. And sooner or later, someone will do it just for the show. So I'm not sure how much one learns from this. So maybe let me add one thing, which is that, as a scientist, I kind of find these language applications interesting. As everybody else, I'm trying to find some uses for it. But I think the big change is going to come when those things learn to understand physical reality and the mathematics behind it, which I think is totally possible. Mathematics, is also just a big set of relations that in principle you can feed into an AI, and I'd be surprised if there isn't already someone working on it. And that's going to make a really, really big difference in all the natural sciences. And I think it's great because we could need a little bit more intelligence on our planet.
Subscribe to the Hello Computer channel here on YouTube to hear more interviews with experts as the world comes to terms with thinking machines.